p.m. I'll call the Common Council meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Iverson. Here. Schatzinger.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Grunert.
Here.
Gotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am Reverend Jeffrey Dodson from First Congregational Church. Please be with me in the spirit of prayer. Holy One, we are grateful for this gathering tonight of city leaders, staff, and community members. Guide our conversation and illuminate our united path forward. Give to us yet more light and truth, which you have to show us. Help us to be wise with our words, compassionate with our response, and resilient in creating a safe and beautiful city. To mark International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st, I offer a moment of silence for those in our community who have been harmed by the pain of overdose. Loving God, help us destigmatize asking for help with addiction. Heal those whose lives have been altered by overdose, our families and friends grieving the loss of a loved one, workers in healthcare and support services extending strength and compassion, and first responders who selflessly assume the role of lifesaver. We pray that, with your help, our resolve to address the overdose pandemic matches the need our community faces. Let us endeavor to love kindness, do justice, and walk humbly with you, our Creator. Watch over the city we love, I pray. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Terry, seconded by Jonathan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. There's no one signed up for public comment. So we'll move on to item 5, accept informal reports from standing committees and staff. This is a police department report from July that did not make it in time for the last meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this report?
I move we accept the police department report for July.
Second. I think John got it.
Been moved by Ellen, seconded by John. Any discussion? Doug?
I noticed that there's a couple of officers that have resigned. I wish to wish them well. Officer Herring and Sergeant Tipon both resigned, and they've now left the department. And so I wish to publicly thank them for their service here in the community.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting this report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. I have a proclamation for International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is recognized globally on August 31st to raise awareness about risks of overdosing, honor the individuals whose lives have been lost from overdosing, and acknowledge the grief felt by families, friends, and communities. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day aims to publicly challenge the stigma associated with substance use disorders and overdosing, and whereas many, though not all, drug overdoses in the United States and in Wisconsin are related to the use of opioids such as heroin, fentanyl, and prescription oxycodone. And whereas every person deserves our best effort to prevent injury and death from overdose, and it's imperative to support overdose prevention policies and projects, and to help make sure everyone understands overdose is a social issue which impacts the victim, families, friends, and communities. And whereas the City of Ripon recognizes the importance of spreading awareness about how to identify an opioid overdose and what to do in the event of an overdose, which includes attending Fond du Lac County Health Department's free community Narcan training program. Now, therefore, I, Theodore Grant, Mayor of City of Ripon, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day throughout the City of Ripon and commend its thoughtful recognition to all citizens of our city. Proclaimed this 28th day of August 2023. Would there be a motion to accept this proclamation?
I'll accept this motion of proclamation.
I'll second.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by John. Any discussion?
I'm trying to find the date of the Narcan training. Do we have that at our fingertips? Because it's a really important training.
I do, if you bear with me here, I will bring it up later, but it is coming up here, I believe, early next.
I think it's September 5th.
The police department does share that on their Facebook page, if anybody's interested, it's on there.
Okay. I want to say it's a really valuable training, not only for people who may overdose, but for family members to have the Narcan training and learn how to deploy Narcan in the event of an overdose.
The free Narcan training for the Ripon community is on Tuesday, September 5th at 11:15 a.m. at the Pickard Commons in the Presidential Dining Room at Ripon College, 304 Elm Street. It's about 45 minutes long.
And typically, you're given a kit of Narcan, too. Right, Chief?
Free Narcan kits available upon completion of the training on a first-come, first-served basis.
Thank you,
Fond
Ellen.
du Lac County Health Department, 920-929-3085, if you have any questions.
Jolene.
I will add that for if anyone is interested with their organization to do a Narcan training, I'm so glad, Ellen, you brought that up. I think both of us went through when the days you had to do the injection, and now it's actually just a spray in the nostril. And so the training is easy, it can save lives. And I feel so grateful to be part of a city where our city leaders recognize this. In fact, just last week in Fond du Lac, I attended the funeral of a young woman who took a drug that was laced with fentanyl and unfortunately died from that. And the family kept saying over and over again, they couldn't believe the number of different people from the community that showed up to the funeral, showing that every single person, no matter if they believe it or not, has an impact and has ripples. You know, these things have ripples in a community. So I feel so proud that this has been, brought up to the city as something to approve on this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the proclamation, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is approved. All right. Next up is an outdoor open container entertainment event permit application. We really need to streamline that title. This is brought forward by Ripon Area Chamber of Commerce for Septemberfest.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Howard, seconded by John. Any discussion? We do have Mandy here if you have any questions for her.
I did talk with Mandy a little bit before the meeting and expressed my concern about not what she's doing everything correctly, but on occasion, the downtown bars are pretty lax about things during this event. So she's determined that everybody's going to follow the rules.
Well, I'm determined to give the bars all information that will give them the responsibility to follow the rules. So there will be no confusion. But yes, I do appreciate you bringing that up, because you're right, they are pretty lax.
Dave?
I got a question for you, Mandy, on the police. You said the sheriff's department's going to be there from 12 to 4 p.m. There's going to be one. Why 12 to 4 and not later?
So the only later music is 3:30 to 6:30, and and it's not going to be like a big giant band. And so 12 to 4 really will be the primary people time. The streets are only shut
Could
down.
Mandy come up to the speaker, to the microphone?
Hi, Jolene.
Thank
The
you.
streets are only shut down until 4, and so that's when the open container permit is. That's when the majority of people. We are excited to be adding music in the evening, but I don't think it's going to be a big giant crowd. And so I do think the best time to have the extra help will be in that time period. And then after the music gets done, we'll be doing an outdoor movie on the green. So come sing along to Grease if you're interested. Yeah.
All right, sounds good, thank you.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, you're requesting this permit through 4 PM and not through 9 PM?
For the open container, it's listed from 9 to 4 PM. Yeah, I believe that's true. Just taking a look at it.
It says 9 to 9.
Oh, so that's the temporary class B, right. So there will be beverages at the Village Green, but the portion of when they'll be able to drink in the streets will end at 4 PM. So I don't know if we need to make that amendment on here.
And all streets are opening at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
I do have one question for you on the street closure, which kind of goes hand in hand with the permit. On Scott Street, it looks like you're closing at the alley between the old Chamber Building and Sol Patina,
Yes.
which kind of makes a bottleneck if someone turns down there. They could get stuck, or they'd have to back up to the parking lot to get out.
So I think like before, we made it at the parking lot by pastime, so they had the parking lot to be able to loop out there.
Because typically in years past, it goes all the way to the turnaround in front of Hamilton's.
Right. Usually it follows the crosswalk that
Right.
stays right
So
on
they can
So
Washington
that people
Street.
can also
So they
go
can loop
through.
So they can
around.
still
because
do the loop around.
Last year, the fire department and those people there did not want that area to be a loop around for normal cars, and they wanted them to go through the parking lot of Pastimes because the fire trucks were running taking kids out on rides. But I can talk with them to see what they think is best for this year. We did have some cars try to get confused in that area, so that could be a potential thing we could improve this year. But I was just going along with what the fire department seemed to want.
Chief, could I get your input on the traffic flow at that corner?
Yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with the fire
There was a
department.
pedestrian accident at that corner last year, too.
During the event?
During the event, there was a pedestrian accident in that area that fire and I think your people responded
Right.
to.
Well, I don't think it was an accident. I think somebody fell
It was a
out of wheel-
yeah, it was a
somebody fell out of
pedestrian.
wheelchair or
Yeah,
something.
so we're talking about like where to block the street off right here.
Is the fire department operating their rides this year?
Yes.
So they're loading in that section between the alley and the,
They normally park like in that inner curve here, and that's what they use to do the loop. And so my fear is that if we let normal cars do that, that's where kids are loading and stuff. But again, like last year, they just said, well, they've got this parking lot here that they can loop out and get out of. But we had some people who disregarded the barricades. It was maybe one or two, but it definitely caused an alarm. And so I'm definitely open to, I think people don't listen to barricades as much as you wish they did. That's kind of how I felt last year.
yeah, I guess the only concern I had is if you've got fire department people parking on the street and loading kids on, that it's probably better to be blocked off and have them use that alley there, or the driveway to get into Pastimes, but that's entirely up to you guys how you want that run.
And we alert the post office too, just so they know what's going on and, yeah. So maybe I can check in further with our fire department, because obviously it'll look different this year. We'll also have Mitch, the ambulance there. Some police presence might be there with one of their squad cars in the center here. But we'll definitely work on making it even, whether it's more clear that you can't pass there or a plan that they can pass there. We'll try to address that area specifically.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
This is on the 16th?
Yes.
And this is just a one-day event?
Correct.
Okay. Why is it that the letter from the chamber, says Saturday, September 17th? Is that just a
That
typographical?
must have been a typo.
Okay, well, I just noticed that. I wanted to make sure there wasn't any confusion there. Okay.
Change that for next year.
That might be the day.
Oh, but then it says at the bottom, it says September 16th for the no parking sign, so that must have been an oversight. Okay.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the outdoor open container entertainment event permit application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Mandy. All right, next up is contract for maintenance assessment services. This is with our Appraiser Accurate Appraisal Consultants.
Associate Appraisal Consultant.
Associated Appraisal Consultants. Adam?
Yeah, so for approximately 10 years now, the city has contracted with Associated Appraisal Consultants out of the Appleton office to provide assessment services for the city. The contract is expiring. We engaged them and some other firms to talk about what we would do moving forward. The general history and overall options out there are limited as to what we can do. There are not necessarily a ton of firms out there doing this overly well, or they're consolidating, or they're getting out of the business. It's not a field that a lot of people are going into. So weighing everything, we engaged with Associated. They do a fine job for us, and they are proposing an extension of 5 years to do maintenance, which essentially means they'll continue to do permitting and reviewing assessments annually. The price will be $31,500. It'll go up about 2% or so, or $1,000 every year over the 5 years. We currently pay around $27,500, so it's about $4,000 increase. Overall, it's just as part of the overall theme of costs are up. And if we want to keep them on board to continue this on, this is the contract they proposed, and we negotiated to get to where we are tonight.
Great.
What is their track record with contestments over their assessing value?
I mean, this past year, we had board review. We had two objections. Both were voted by the board of review in the assessment's favor. Generally speaking, beyond that, I would say that 90% of what actually comes to them doesn't get to the board of review level. They negotiate or they talk it over with the property owner ahead of board of review to try to sort of mediate or prevent, some big issue. And just keeping up with the overall maintenance of assessing. It sort of, prevents a lot of that from happening. This is not a reval. If you get a reval and you start increasing assessments significantly through a revaluation full-blown, you'll have a lot of contested evaluations. That's generally what happens. We've kept up with things over the many years and been on a good path. That's not the path we need to go down at this point. But overall, I would say, short of the Kmart situation, which I was not here for, most challenges have been easily handled by board of review and generally in the favor of the city or the assessor.
Any further questions or?
Attorney Wirtz could not be here tonight. He's reviewed it, said everything is good on his end from the perspective of legal review.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I didn't know if we had a motion or not.
No, we didn't.
I'll second that.
Who made the motion?
Motion made by David, second by John.
John,
Which John?
John.
Either.
John versus Jonathan.
okay.
I try to avoid confusion that way. Any discussion on the contract or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the contract for maintenance assessment services with Associated Appraisal Consultants, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is approved. All right. Next item is a proposal / contract for municipal recyclable collection and disposal services. This was sent out RFP to several companies, and staff is recommending we go with Waste Management when our contract, or current contract with them, expires at the end of the year. This would be a 5-year contract?
Correct.
5-year contract. And the city did receive back bids from Waste Management, GFL, and Harders. And Waste Management certainly came up at the top of the pack for price and service. Terry?
All right, I've got two questions. We'll start off with the first one. It says billed to resident. Is that still going to be billed through our water?
The standard billing will continue on the water or utilities bill.
Second part of this is we are saying, or they're saying that they would be charging $20 a month for handicap services. You know, first of all, I would hope that their neighbors would help them out and take their trash bin or recycle bin in this case to the curb. That would prevent something like that. But in the case that there isn't a person that would be willing to help them out, I mean, do we really need to be charging them $20? I mean, can we absorb that cost some way to make it a fair across the board for the residents?
If you want to charge more and hold people to, you know, where do you draw the line? This is a contracted service.
Well, I get that they're saying that they have to have a doctor's note and approval, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I mean, for those that really can't, you know, I mean, I can't foresee it being an exorbitant amount that would really raise everybody's up past, you know, much past like $5.25, you know, a month to compensate for those who can't. I mean, legitimately can't. I didn't even say 5.5. I mean, we got, what is it? We got several thousand people in this city. But you're not gonna have that many that are handicapped that can't take their trash or recycle bins to the curb.
And what I will say, in their contract, this is what they propose. This is the standard that Waste Management has today. It is meant to prohibit abuse of that. There's a fee associated with it. It's meant to be, you know, yes, we hope that people work out different arrangements for those that can't. This is a service not offered by the city, but an independent contract or an independent agreement between the Waste Management and the resident. So for us to absorb that cost, I would just be careful, because you could see that get abused and or used more, which will drive up our cost in future contracts, I would guess, or require us to review this RFP, because that was not how it was laid out. The built-in cost is efficiency. It is, you know, certain timeliness. If they have to get a driver to leave the vehicle and move a cart on X amount of stops, their cost goes up, okay? As well as their liability concerns go up. So I don't think that this is happening in the current, this is in the current service. It's not happening very frequently. Most people are finding another way to avoid the $20. So I don't think it's necessary to include it in. And for the other reasons I said, I wouldn't necessarily go down that path with them, because I think, like I said, there's reasons why we shouldn't, that, would cost more, and/or there are other solutions out there already being used.
Okay.
David?
One thing to remember about doing that too, that the people that can barely afford to pay now would wind up paying more too. So we really do need to be careful about doing that. I think for the most part, you're going to have neighbors take care of it for folks.
I would hope so.
So, yeah, I would too. But we just need to be careful that we don't raise the rates for everyone, because there are people that are living right on the edge right now. So, and I would like to make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion's made by David, seconded by Doug. Any discussion on the contract? Jolene?
As a follow-up to that discussion, maybe it would make sense to state out loud that if someone had an issue paying that they should contact, I'm imagining if they're a senior, I don't know, can they contact the senior center? Or I don't know, if they contact the city in that, maybe a neighbor doesn't know someone needs help. Again, I think we have great neighbors that people know each other. But if it is a concern that a colleague brings up, we don't know it's a concern until people report it. So maybe we can just state out loud. I don't know if that's appropriate, but if people have issues with that $20 a month, again, for that service of bringing out that, that they could contact someone in the city, contact their city official to let them know. My other, comment is that I feel good about waste management is I'm aware that there was a city where waste management, because of the shortage of staffing, perhaps because of COVID, could not actually fulfill the contract. But waste management did not charge that city or that entity because they could no longer fulfill that contract. So I guess I just want to add that I feel good about, it's not good that they couldn't fulfill it, but they didn't charge anything to that entity, and they understood they had to go somewhere else. So that's, I think, a good thing. My last question is, I see that it looks like we're getting new carts. If we were to approve this from the 96 to 64, I like that, because recycling is good, so to encourage more space. As you look around the city, some carts are, more in a little bit disrepair than others. My question is, when people get a new one, if, for example, theirs seems damaged, is there a way that they can report that from the beginning? Obviously, if it becomes damaged once the person has it and it's their own fault, I assume they probably have to pay for that. But is there a way that their first cart, we can make sure that a wheel is not falling off, or, is there, what does that look like, I guess, to make sure that they get a usable cart? Because I've seen some where the handle has actually come out and things like that.
So a couple things, Alan, if you want to talk about, I don't remember what the maintenance of it is, but in this contract, so currently the city owns all of the 64-gallon existing recycling bins. Those we're getting rid of them. The city is basically getting out of the business of owning those carts. They will be picked up and recycled, okay? And those will be collected by Waste Management. At that time, in the back of the room, there is a large green and yellow recycling bin. That is the bin that will be distributed throughout the city by Waste Management back there. So it is a larger can, which has been something we've had a lot of comments and pressure to move toward. So we will be recycling those 64-gallon cans and coming out. Waste Management will then own those 96-gallon cans. We will not own them. Correct, Alan?
Correct. We will not own them.
So then maintenance of those is?
The maintenance is Waste Management's responsibility, and I would anticipate that they're placing more confidence in that, because they're all going to be brand new carts, that they will have 0 to no maintenance in the 5-year contract. So if there's a need to replace a wheel or something like that, they will likely send someone out like we do to do it after it's been dumped. If it's damaged beyond repair, They will then assess that and make a determination if it was due to normal wear and tear or if it was due to neglect and abuse by the resident. If it's the latter, they will get charged for a new cart.
It's $75, Jolene, so that is directly assessed to them by Waste Management. The city does not pursue that.
And you're saying the only time they're charged is if a can is replaced due to negligence or misuse of a can?
Correct.
Regular maintenance is not charged to the homeowner at all?
That is, I can verify that, but from what we received a preliminary contract this morning, and I did not read anything that would suggest that they're going to charge for nominal maintenance.
Eric?
Okay, I've had it, unfortunately, my recycle can or trash can, I don't remember which one it was we park them on the street and then somebody decided to come hit mine and actually knock it past the sidewalk. And it did damage it, but I was able to repair it myself. Is that something that the resident would be responsible for if somebody were to come hit it? Or is that going to be something that,
The first observation I'll make is they're not supposed to be parked in the street. They're supposed to be put on the terrace. So if they're getting hit because they're in the street, that will likely, in Waste Management's eyes, be the resident's responsibility.
okay.
Now, if you have a situation where you have an errant car that goes up on a terrace, I'm sure that Waste Management will be a good neighbor on that and take care of it.
Any other questions, comments? Howard?
Will they be replacing these all at once, or is it going to be a phase?
My guess is that they will, they outsource it, so that company, from talking with the folks at Waste Management, it's likely that on your collection day, they will be the company that replaces them will be following the recycling truck and providing a new cart on that day. Whether it happens the very first day in January or a little bit later remains to be seen. It's a matter of, when they get the carts. They have confidence that they'll have them going into the contract, but given what's been going on the past few years, I'm not holding my breath.
And the company that's supplying the new cart, are they picking up the old one same time, or is it going to be a two-step?
I believe that's the way that they're going to handle it. They probably will go through them, sort them out, see which ones are still salvageable and reuse elsewhere on the open market, and then which ones will be recycled or landfilled.
Any other questions?
The last thing from me is I'm reminded of how many people I think are still confused whether or not, for example, they can put in plastic bags into recycling, or, do they need to wash items before they put it in recycling or not, or take off labels from cans. So my point is, I realize that we are just contracting them. So maybe this is on Waste Management. I don't know if it needs to be a statement that we say, I wish you could, it almost makes it seem like maybe it's on our social media, a reminder of what is recycled and what is not. Again, at some level, we're not responsible for making sure people know, but I feel like we're responsible to helping our citizens be well informed.
There's an educational component that Waste Management is held to as part of the contract also. I'll re-verify, but it's my understanding is that some educational materials will go with the cart also. The films or the bags are part of that educational component because they are not kind to the machinery that's used for sorting the recyclables.
And judging from experience from other communities that have the Waste Management cans, a lot of their cans do have the Waste Management cans. A lot of their cans do have on the lid saying what
the gentleman I'm working with did say that this lid is not what we will receive. We will receive something with a hot stamp on it. He just described a standard recycling emblem, things like that. I don't know that it's gonna hot stamp what's permitted and what's not, simply because that changes from time to time.
Doug?
I do see in the packet here from Waste Management, there is a single stream specifications page that does list the types of materials that they're looking for. The question,
If that's what they're saying, that
it
would,
says uncoated paperboard except, in parentheses, except cereal boxes, food and snack boxes. Is that in or out then? It's a little ambiguous to me. So if you could check on that, I'd like.
The EX could also be an example.
Yes, it could be. That's why I'm saying it could also be except. But they could want it because they are kind of coated, I think. If you could clarify, that'd be great.
I made a note.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the contract for municipal recyclable collection and disposal services through Waste Management, say aye.
Aye.
That is approved. All right. Next up is the Ripon First Housing Program. Adam, do you want to give an overview?
So in your packet, there was a draft housing program, so the funding for this would come from existing funds in two closed-out TIF districts we've done in the past few years here. There's approximately $380,000 or so that we have in those funds. We're only asking for approximately $15,000 to be pushed toward this project as sort of a pilot. The assistance program, so approximately $5,000 loan, or that becomes a grant for a first-time home buyer. You can see how that is defined. They then basically have to live there for years, and it would be forgiven, so we'd have a mortgage on it. At $15,000, obviously that means 3. We don't know what the overall demand for this is, but ultimately the justification for it was in our housing study that was completed about a year ago. First-time home buyers was one of the main identified affordability barriers or challenged for housing affordability, first-time home buyers and low income. So as a way to have someone pick Ripon First for their first home. This is a way maybe to help out. Obviously, housing market in Ripon has picked up a little bit from what you can see with listings, but has not dropped off in terms of costs, with overall home values being very high and interest rates being high. So this, we hope there are people interested in doing this. If you have any questions, certainly happy to answer. You can kind of see the layout of how we would do this. And obviously too in here, they must be approved to obtain a mortgage. So you can't just say, I want $5,000 and pay cash for a house. So this is going to be something for those that, are financially just trying to get it done, buy their first house.
Why don't we put an income restriction in? Like, why are we opening it up to everybody for a first-time home buyer? Why don't we put in like 140% of poverty level or something to cap out?
I think the justification mostly for it is the TIF affordability definition of the 30% of their monthly gross income toward it. So that's sort of the justification for not having it, as well as the house prices. There's if you put an income limit on it, you're not going to be able to find a house to buy. Most houses in Ripon are listed for north of $240,000. Brand new builds are $315,000 north of it. So you're just limiting the pool. And just as first-time home buyers, whether it's a $300,000 home or a $150,000 home, certainly there could be a gap there that needs to be filled. And it may not be more affordable based on income and the 30% threshold. so we didn't decide to go that way. Because I don't know how many, the other side of it is I don't want to further restrict this, but certainly we can look at that if you want to send it back and put in an income restriction.
I'm not sure if I missed this, but does this include home building?
No.
No, this is just home buying.
Home buying. Could be an existing home, could be a new build, just first-time home buyer. They have to have financing in place and meet the definitions of a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
Now, how do I put this? Have you talked to businesses? I'm thinking in terms of them doing some kind of matching thing for, to be able to retain employees, recruitment, to get people to live here. I know this one, it looks like it's a second mortgage type thing. Is there some way we could get with employers to do something like that too? And it would kind of help them to spread the word, so to speak.
Certainly, the Fond du Lac County and Envision Greater Fond du Lac has the relocation assistance program that offers up to a $18,000 relocation incentive, I believe it is. That program has had massive challenges because of housing availability. They have applicants that can't find houses to buy.
Yeah.
So, to put this on businesses is a tough one. Certainly, there are businesses in our community that are thinking about this in certain ways. I think there are other ways we can engage them outside of this. And there are examples from the area where businesses are doing far greater things, including in Sheboygan County where they're funding housing developments. It's something you'll read in the paper this week as part of a column in some of the housing challenges that are happening in Fond du Lac County. This is small compared to that. That will only complicate something that's meant to be rather simple, but I respect the idea. I have reached out to banks regarding this. This will be something that we work mostly with banks on. Okay. The banks that I've engaged, two of them have said that the problem is this would be useful. They just didn't at that time have the supply of the housing to really make this overly useful, and that's why this is only at $15,000. We're not going too deep into it because, it's just the housing market has been that competitive and crazy lately.
Jolene.
I think it's important to, look at some of the potential benefits of this. And maybe, Adam, you can say more. From what I'm seeing, this could encourage young people who maybe were unsure if they want to stay in the area due to the housing. They may think twice and think, yeah, maybe this is a good place. This makes it doable. I'm assuming it's also increasing our tax base, right? If we have more homes. Correct, and my guess is also it might bring people into the area. Am I saying all of these correct? I guess I'm looking to you, Adam, if that's correct. And then if so, if this might bring people into our area, might we advertise this outside of our local banks to other local cities, other perhaps regional employers? And so those are my three questions. One is, am I getting the reasons why this could be a really good thing? Two, how will we advertise this out of the area? And then three, do we need to talk about if we don't use the $15,000 in funds, will it roll over next year? Do we decide that it's $15,000 each year, or next year could it be $20,000 if it doesn't use it? Is that something we need to figure out before we approve it?
Yeah, so the first question and the main motivator is our housing study. It was one of the areas where affordability was the biggest challenge. Second to that, you mentioned attracting new residents, younger people. I think everybody's in the room has pretty much been a first-time home buyer, and the amount of stress and anxiety that can go into that and getting that done. The idea is having somebody start here and hopefully they stay here, have a family here. It just builds from this, right? It builds from, buying the home, fixing up the home, selling the home, buying a bigger home, having kids, on and on and on, in a traditional family sense. Beyond that, the second question, which I already forgot it,
How will we advertise, to areas so that we can bring people in?
The banks will be the biggest one. Beyond that, I think we can talk to employers. We can, there's only $15,000. So what I would say to the third question is I can bring this back in sort of waves if we have a successful program and we have funds available and it makes sense to continue to offer this. We'll freeze this 15. If we get rid of 15 and a year from now we want to add 10, because we know there's a demand, we can come back and if we have the funds available, just continue the program. But we'd get it out on social media, we'd talk about it to the realtors as well in town. So I think we really let the people that are in the field do the work of getting the word out on this because they have the connections that make the most sense. Obviously, we did the exterior home repair program, which we have approximately 58,000 of the 65,000 allocated for that program. 2 grants. We did the Sandmar lot sale program. This would be the third program out of the housing study with available funding. We obviously have more funds available to use for programs. So we can put X amount of dollars into this. We just sort of wanted to dip our toe in before jumping all the way in.
Thank you.
I guess my last comment, I understand your comments, Adam. My preference is that we would go back, I've been thinking about this the whole time, that we would go back and add some form of an income cap in here. I would rather the money going to subsidize somebody on the lower threshold of income rather than subsidizing somebody a high income that's able to hit that 30% mark, because at a 30% mark, a higher income allows you to hit that easier. So I understand why it's there, but that's my preference. I won't make a motion, because I don't want to hold up the meeting, but that's my preference.
Any other questions or comments or motions or?
Yeah, I will just add, am I understanding this correctly based off of my colleague Jonathan's comment? I mean, we can look at this as how do we help people that maybe can't afford something, but you could also look at this as a business economic move where, in fact, if it attracts people that are very high income, that's also a positive for our city. I mean, there's 2 different ways to look at this, and I guess the way it's open right now is it can be both, and we see how it goes, correct?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that if there was somebody that used that and they moved in and we'd had a high income and it drove tax value up, I see the benefit of there. I'm just saying my preference of where money is going to subsidize some amount, and obviously it's a small amount, but the principle of it, my preference is that money goes to subsidize somebody in the lower threshold.
And I will say at a $5,000 limit, it does sort of cap it, right? Because if you're going to come up with 20% of our down payment, somebody buying a $100,000 house or a $200,000 house or a $300,000 house, just because you make more doesn't mean you have that amount in savings, right? So I think it's kind of capped based on the number of $5,000 as well in terms of what's actually going to, because in our study, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the gap for first-time home buyers affordability was around $7,500. They were coming up short. So this would get, and that's just a median or an average of all first-time home buyers. So this would get people closer. So, yeah, it's.
It is just 3 to start, so if we need to tweak it, we can tweak it next time, or...
It's sort of a pilot program?
Yeah, right. So we can tweak it if we have to. So I'll make a motion to approve the Ripon First Housing Program.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved by David, seconded by Doug. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the Ripon First Housing Program with a fund balance of $15,000, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
That is approved. All right, next item is a resolution providing for the sale of approximately $1,195,000 general obligation promissory notes. We have Phil Cosson here to discuss this. If you want to just give an overview to start with.
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Nice to be with you tonight. We've been working with city staff on putting together a long-range capital plan. I think it really centered initially around some of the sticker shock of the DPW building, which you're not alone these days. So that kind of triggered us working again on kind of a multi-year plan, knowing that that DPW building wasn't the only capital project that was out there on the horizon. So you have a couple of documents. One is this pre-sale report that is in your, was in your packet. And then also there's a corresponding resolution. The resolution gives us authorization to proceed with the financing. I'll describe in a little bit. And that's prepared by the city's bond council, which is Quarles and Brady. And we prepared the pre-sale report, which again, I'm going to spend a little time to go through with you. So tonight, what we're looking at is a financing that accomplishes three different things. One, there's roughly $500,000 of road projects to be financed as part of this financing, and the other two is to refinance a couple of bank notes. Two bank notes taken out in 2017 that have large maturities that come due in 24 and 25 that have the effect of driving up your debt service levy. And as a result of that would increase taxes in those years. So what we're attempting to do with this multi-year plan is to refinance those bank notes, finance the $500,000, and then fit that within the rest of your capital needs to kind of level out that debt service levy, which is a portion of your budget process. So for tonight, we're looking at, again, the financing of $1,195,000 for the two bank notes, which are existing obligations already, and $500,000 in road projects. So procedurally, I know some of you I don't recognize. I've been around a long time working here in the city, but this is maybe your first time going through a debt issue. This would be a financing that would be done on a competitive basis. So we advocate to do competitive bond sales whenever possible. What that really means is you're gonna put out what's called an official statement, which is like a prospectus on the city, and on a specific date and time, we would take bids from not only local financial institutions, but regional and national financial institutions as well, and they'll bid on the bonds, and then we come back with a list of who set up, who bid, what the rates were, and ultimately what the low bid was. Similar to if you're going to put a roof on the city hall, you're going to take out bids on that as well. To do that, we need to, one, go through this process and have you adopt a resolution which gives us authorization to proceed with this on behalf of the city. Two, we would then be in contact with Moody's Investor Service. The city is rated by Moody's, and we'll go through a rating analysis of the current financials of the city to determine what the rating is. Currently, the city is rated at A1. So number one goal is always to maintain that rating, and then we'll come back with what the final rating was as well. There's a number of items in this pre-sale report that kind of talk about kind of risk factors and those kind of things that I wasn't going to read to you. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through the spreadsheets because I think that's where this really plays out. If you go to the Exhibit 1 in our pre-sale report, you'll see in here where it says a net tax levy. And I know there's probably a lot of numbers on that page to look at, but if it's the fifth column from the right, you'll see that the net debt service levy for the city was $721,000 in 2023. So that's what you levied for existing debt obligations at this point. with the current debt structure, without refinancing those bank notes, that's going to jump to $1,014,000. So almost a $300,000 jump in your net debt service levy. And then you're going to add to that some costs related to the debt service on the new road project. So you're going to get a spike up in that year. It'll stay high because you have another maturity in 2025 and 930, and then really drop off after that. So, well, again, our attempt here is to level out that debt service levy so you don't have these peaks and valleys when it comes to budget time. And at the same time, fit in the DPW building and some other capital needs you have in the future as well. So that's table one. Table two kind of lays out all the different financings that have been projected out through 2029. Now, what we do know is things will change. Other projects will take precedence. Projects will delay for whatever reasons. But there's a model that we can tweak along the way. But we do have in here, again, the DPW building, future road projects, utility, both water and sewer projects as well, that have been kind of built out in this model over a period of time. And ultimately, what we're trying to get to on table 4 is that debt service levy number. And again, a lot of numbers on the page, but if you really focus in on what's happening for the tax rate for debt service, third column from the right, what we're trying to do is kind of level that out without seeing significant spikes. Yes, it goes up, and it goes up in parts of the DPW building. You're taking on a very large scale project that's going to be generational for the city. So we expect to see a slight increase. We do see that over time, and then it starts to drop back off after that, which will allow you the ability to take on capital projects. So tonight, we're not asking you to approve anything regarding the DPW building or future projects, but set the stage by refinancing those 2 bank notes so you don't see that big spike in the tax rate, and then also to finance $500,000 in road projects. So that's first step. That'll get us to be able to do the other capital planning down the road once we get final dollar amounts for all the different projects in the future. The last thing is we do have a bond yield chart in here that kind of gives you a feel for what's going on in the bond market. Good or bad, it's tracking interest rates. When you think home mortgages, et cetera, rates have gone up. They have stabilized really over the last month or two. We expect they will continue to be pretty stable through the rest of summer and the fall. Usually not a lot of movement in the bond market during that period of time, but we've kind of factored that into this financing as well. So again, tonight we're looking for authorization, again, for the refinancing of the 2 bank notes and in the finance the $500,000 in capital projects for streets.
Helen?
I move we accept the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $1,195,000 in general obligation promissory notes.
I'll second it. I have the motion from Ellen. I heard Jonathan with the second. Any discussion?
What 3 streets are we referring to again?
It's State Street and then the Tigard Street Bridge removal project. So
This summer's project.
Gotcha.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $1,195,000 in general obligation promissory notes, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is approved.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next month.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I got out of order here. All right. Okay, next up is resolution for tax incremental district affordable housing extension resolution. Is he here for that one too?
Yeah, you can stay, Phil.
No.
All right, this is closing out of, or extending TID 5 to capture the incremental district for affordable housing projects. Adam?
Yeah, so TID 5, we've talked about this with Phil, and Mandy and I have talked with him about extending TID 5 for the affordable housing extension. So the program we just funded for the first-time home buyer, it's the same pot of money. So we closed TID 5. We can extend it a year. There's approximately $100,000 to $180,000 to $190,000 of increment that we can then use for housing within the community. So we have a lot of dollars that we have in the bank for projects of that nature already. This would just add a significant amount to it. Talking with Phil, we would have to issue this now before September, and then we would have to issue the closing resolution in April of next year to time this so we close it on time to be able to open another TIF district. We are still over the 12% even with this closing, so we've talked about closing another TIF district potentially early at the same time next year to open another TIF district for the S. East Swiderski housing project. That would be one, or any other TIF district we would want to create. But overall, this would put more money in the pot. Phil, you can add anything you want. I don't think there's much more to say other than whatever you have to say.
One thing I would add, just because of the item prior to mine, 75% of the dollars have to go towards affordable housing projects. So you can earmark them for a lot of different types of projects out there for different developments, but the majority of the money when you use the affordable housing extension are required to be used for affordable housing.
And that affordable housing is the 30%?
Yeah, that's the threshold.
On a 30-year mortgage?
Yep, exactly. Or, yeah, it doesn't have to be, but yes.
Right.
Yep.
But that's how the calculation is
That's how the calculation is done, yeah.
Any questions, comments, motions?
Make a motion that we approve resolution for extending the tax incremental district for affordable housing. That works.
Is there a second?
No, we'll second.
Been moved by Jonathan, seconded by David. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the approving the resolution for tax increment district affordable housing extension resolution for TID 5, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is approved.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. All right, it's that time of year again for a resolution authorizing limited bow hunting within city limits. Adam?
You have the resolution?
Yep, so we've done this every year since I can remember.
16 years.
Yep. And I assume this is following all the same rules as before?
Correct.
Yeah.
The group has been very good working with us over the years, and that I've had several stop in at my place and talk about it. And of course, they'd always like to have more land to cover, because the deer are getting smarter. They're moving to spots where they don't have access to. But I think if we keep it to the areas that they are hunting in right now, it will continue to help alleviate the population.
Terry?
All right, I noticed that they're trying to obtain more hunting locations to include areas like Ripon College. Is that something we need to get pre-approval from, or they get pre-approval from? How does that exactly work?
So they get approval from the property owner.
Okay.
So, Craig Bauman, it generally, if during the year, if we get complaints about animals or deer in certain parts of town, we forward those to him. And then, so people can contact us and we will forward them on and he can try to get in that area to hunt. So that's, if there's people out there that have land and it's safe practice to hunt with bows, just contact us and we can get you connected with Craig.
Okay. And I noticed that they say they distribute the meat to a variety of people. Do we know if these are like charitable organizations? I mean, they have these programs out there that the food would go to the needy. Is that something that they do, or is it just they're distributing the food to their friends, whoever?
Oh, I can't answer. I don't know exactly who the meat is going to. I don't know how many people necessarily are hunting, but they are clearing, 10 deer. So whether they're going to charitable, I do not know. It's something I can ask Craig to see, but.
Jolene?
Well, I think I clearly remember because I was impressed that in the past that they have donated, I think, to the local food pantry. I'm pretty positive I remember that if I were to look back at our record. But I will say, as someone who currently runs a food pantry, there have been less butchers that have been willing to donate, or maybe they want to donate it, but they have to there's more testing in place. So I guess my point is, I feel good that the people who are a part of Team Ripon have said that giving back to the community and donating meat to charitable, the food pantries, I should say, we have more than one in town, has been something they have stated. I think it's hard to make them do that if there's cost involved in processing that. But I know that they have said that they would like to. That is part of their mission.
Have we had a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the limited bow hunting within the city limits.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Then moved by Howard, seconded by Terry. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution authorizing limited bow hunting within city limits for Team Ripon, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. All right, next Adam has a just presentation for us on beginning of the budget season.
Hand them out. You do that for me? You gotta figure this out.
We'll leave Jolene up on this screen and his presentation over there. Howard, can you see his screen all right?
Yeah.
I'm okay if you take me off the screen.
Okay, what is going on?
It was there for a second.
I know.
You need to use some of our shared revenue to get new cables?
There you go. Okay, there you go.
I won't touch anything.
Okay, boom, got it. Want me to put on that one too? Or are we good?
You can
You
see
have
how
a copy of it, so. All right. So, just Giving you a general update on the 2024 budget and where we stand today. Amanda has been working hard on getting everything gathered together with department head insight, looking over numbers, trends, budgets for wages and benefits. So going into 2024, the budget, our general outlook, tax levy, net new construction is 0.57%, so that allows us to increase the general tax levy by $17,714, so not a whole lot. The mill rate, the past years, so we're always kind of a year behind, so 2022, or this past year's was $9.04 per $1,000 of assessed value. The goal obviously is to freeze or reduce that, but that heavily depends on equalized value and assessed value. As we look through numbers and we get numbers in, we will not know exactly what the mill rate will be until those numbers are finalized, and that doesn't happen for at least a couple more months, frankly. Everything we're doing is projecting at this point. That includes the debt levy. So as we look at debt levy, that is included in the mill rate. As we talk tonight, that's yet to be determined due to the recent issue we just did. So although we have an idea of what those numbers may end up being, it will not be completely figured out until the issue is done with Ellers and we have the percentage and on and on and on. So shared revenue, we will obviously see an increase of $361,000 to go to about $1.843 million. Frankly, this isn't going to solve everything. That is a nice gesture by the state. We certainly appreciate it. But that is not going to be the single solution to fund the things that we need to fund moving forward, and including in the 2024 budget. Just a reminder that expenditure restraint is what we budget for. We get an additional, I believe, $100,000 or so. I'd have to look, that's just off the top of my head, but we get money for qualifying for expenditure restraint. But we budget to qualify for that, and it's at this point a little unknown as to what the increase in the shared revenue and how that will be calculated out in everything, because obviously you're going to be spending more now that you're getting more from the state of Wisconsin, correct? So other funds, we have the water fund, which we're going through the rate increase and rate study that will be put into the 2024 budget. The sewer, depending on how things come out in 2023 here, we will look at a flat, keeping rates flat, or potentially a small cost of living or a small adjustment up, so we avoid having to do what we did this past year, which is a large jump. And then just to note, ambulance, we are proposing a 4% increase to community in a community agreement, so our surrounding communities that get served by the city, we would be looking at a $2,000 combined increase to help with some of the staffing costs, as well as ambulance. We are looking at contributing some dollars of the shared revenue to ambulance to help fund some of their budgetary needs, which contribution from general fund to the ambulance has never happened, other than basically we house them and finance and do a lot of things for free. So, but we have not just taken money and had to push it that way. 2024 wages and benefits. Sorry, did you have any questions about that page? That's just a lot of numbers, just kind of setting where we're headed with revenues and things of that nature. 2024 wages and benefits. Overall, I will say that we are far ahead of where we have ever been in a budget. Mostly because we are in the state health plan, so we're not scrambling to determine health insurance, as well as we have set the parameters in the new agreement with the Ripon Professional Police Association, as well as the pay plan, to look at what we are committing for wage increases for the coming year. So we have a lot of that work done. We are going through the process of pay for performance and performance evaluations as we speak. The state health plan did come back at 14.6% as an increase from the state board that sets that. That is far more than what we had hoped. However, because the 50% enrollment charge surcharge that was put on our group is going away, 50% of it. We will see a minimal reduction in health insurance premiums for the year. So overall, those are all being calculated. Amanda, you can say how much fun that is to do. But overall, we are in a very good place time-wise for that. In terms of major projects, what we are looking for. The biggest, or one of the biggest projects we'd be looking at doing is the St. Wenceslas Street reconstruction project that has been on the docket for many, couple years here, and we just want to get it done as we have some plans in the can, and it's in need of repair. That's around a $900,000 project. The second project, I have a letter here from the DNR. We have been tentatively awarded $418,000 for the Selfridge Park project. So there's a stewardship grant we were awarded. That is a significant opportunity to invest in Selfridge Park next year, including paths and kayak launches and fishing piers and other amenities that are badly needed and were identified in our park master plan. So I have the letter here, you can all look at it. It's a very big deal that we received stewardship funding. It's the first stewardship grant the community has ever received. And will be processed through the state, and we will have to determine if we accept it, but I would recommend we do. Because it is $418,000. Another big thing with shared revenue we'll be looking at doing is public safety radios. Chief Wallner and Chief Mitch have put together quotes. It's very expensive, north of $250,000-ish or so. So we'll be putting that in. The water tower rehab will be a major project for the water department. Chief Waller and I have been talking about emergency siren replacement and reconfiguration, so we have money there. Alan and I have talked a lot about forestry, so we're looking at beefing up our urban forestry budget by a significant amount because we need to start taking down ash trees in a more rapid pace. It needs to happen, so we need to commit more funds to urban forestry. We have demoed 2 street sweepers. We would like to look at buying a new street sweeper. So we're working through pricing on that, but that's about $275,000. We'd be looking at maybe doing a couple other smaller resurfacing projects, totaling around $80,000 from TIF funds in some strategic areas where there's a TIF district to invest more in the resurfacing and road program for the year. And then we'd be looking at doing some critical infrastructure planning, essentially trying to tie everything together that we've put together into a nice priority for future infrastructure planning and development. Beyond that, oops, nope, don't want to do that. Next steps, just finalizing wages and benefits. If there are committee requests for the budget, please have them to me or Amanda by September 11th. So that is any committees out there, or if you have any other requests that you specifically want or would like to see in the budget beyond what's been discussed, let me know or let Amanda know, because then we'll finalize the capital improvement plan, finalize all wages and benefits, major projects, and then important dates moving forward. Just between September 27th and 4th, we'll have a budget workshop where we'll go through everything we've put together, and then October 23rd. In between that time of that first meeting and the 23rd, we'll review the budget again, but summary budget publication, set the public hearing, and then Tuesday, November 7th. I don't believe there's an election on Tuesday, November 7th this year, so that will be our public hearing to adopt or have the resolution with the fee schedules and everything in hand. So, or to pass the budget. So that is what we got so far. Just a quick update, kind of where we're headed, the major priorities. Like I said, Amanda's been doing a great job of getting ahead a lot of things for this year. And we're in a really, I think, good spot for it not being September. Doug?
I have a question, Adam. Is our street repairs, street resurfacing, is that going up next year? Has it been trending upwards the last few years?
Yeah, so
Because I know we have that rolling average from the state, the more we spend, the more they're going to give us, I think. Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, I mean, general transportation is based on a
Yes.
6-year rolling average of what you spend in capital. That has in previous, I think I've shared with you last year during the budget cycle, the increase in that, and we see that once we get the GTA, General Transportation Aid, information from the state, so I can share that with you again. But generally speaking, yes, the more we spend, we have spent more in the past few years doing some larger projects. The more we spend, the more we generally get back for general transportation aid.
Okay.
So this would keep us,
going forward, going up a little bit.
We're spending, it's a $900,000, probably $1 million project, right? The reason that is because we're also doing utilities. So the utilities are kicking in a share. That has not happened in more recent history. It's happening with State Street, and it happened with the grant-funded project of Parkway Terrace in Vermont. But last year we did not do as comprehensive of a street reconstruct as we did on State Street, or we plan on doing on St. Wenceslas. So we're doing, less lane mile for the dollar because we are hitting the infrastructure underneath. The goal would be to kick in some smaller projects as well that are around a TIF district to fix up some roads that are, on a decline. So.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Any further questions on the budget?
I just want to share, we'll have the fire district budget into you in early October. So hopefully that helps.
Early October?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's early October.
Not early September?
I wish.
No, right now we have a long discussion on Tuesday.
Do you have anything to add? No?
I mean, honestly, this is probably the one place I've worked where a lot of the department heads, everybody works together, which is great. There's a need in one, but somebody else is willing to pull back the other. So that's just a very unique, collaboration between department heads that you don't see everywhere, and we're very lucky with the staff that we have and the willingness to work with each other.
But from a shared revenue perspective, and when you look at the budget, there are going to be significant increases in public safety and public works. There will be
given the nature of what
significant increases in those budgets to get done some of the things we mentioned.
All right. If there's no further questions on the budget, project updates and staff reports. Public Works.
Just give you an update on things going on down at Public Works. Wrapping up curbing associated with a number of inlets in the next couple of days. We're trying to do all the small patches by the end of this week. It may go into next week. Just depends on how we're adding more cement to the concrete to try to hasten the cure time, so that then we can place the asphalt next to the concrete that's been poured. I am readying for the sidewalk improvements for the next month. That'll be the sidewalk grinding as well as a fair number of replacement sections. I will reach out again to the county. I have not heard back from them as far as their willingness to help us out with crack filling this year. I am working on positioning our guys to do some crack filling next month. but the quantity that we can do is all dependent on the available staff on each and every day or week. So I'm trying to get some done by both areas. We'll be working on a request for proposals for tree and stump removal. And then if you've noticed, we have improved some of the railroad crossings as far as signage and painting goes. There's faded signs that will be replaced this week. And we did learn that we did not meet signage placement and painting, street painting placement for the railroad crossings on Douglas Street north of Oshkosh Street. Sometime in recent history, the distances increased based upon the speed limit. So we talked to Chief Wallner and to Adam, and we reduced the speed limit to 25 for that section, so we are now compliant with the spacing.
Work smart.
So, frankly, I don't know if we could have met the spacing between the two, because there's just enough space to get it in there for 25 miles an hour. And then we are also helping out Watco with their various crossings. We have provided them some barricades that they are then moving from site to site, and then tomorrow we are letting them use our roller so that they can place some asphalt at the Fenton Street crossings. Other than that,
Where do we stand on fixing the electrical panels in the Barlow Park?
I know, last I knew, we were waiting for a second, because it came in, I think it was around $5,000 or $6,000, because we went through the entire park, and there's a fair amount of work, and we were waiting for another quote from, we received one quote from Ripon Electric, we were waiting for another one from, the name escapes me, he's out in the industrial park. Healy, that's correct. So, Heatley? Heatley. I will see whether or not they have provided us anything yet. Had it been a more nominal repair, I think we'd have just run with Ripon Electric, but given the several $1,000s, we felt obligated to get a second quote.
Thank you.
I think we've got a retired electrician around here.
Maybe on a retire.
Yeah, he refuses to do anything.
Nickname is
I've asked. We got some for police. Amanda, if you have anything?
Budget, on budget. The rate case, I don't know if you want to mention that at all.
You can.
I was going to say, I've been working with CLA on trying to get our final numbers in for the rate case, so we can potentially increase our water fees for the following year. And then the CDBG, the income study, we did that. When did you guys do that, the last one? Was that in the spring?
It was, or midsummer.
So we sent out surveys to everybody, actually Hamburg, Pacific, I don't even know some of the other streets.
Washington,
see if we would qualify to get those roads replaced. They are in desperate need of some work. So we sent out one round of surveys, sent out a second one. Everybody has until Friday of this week to get those in, and then we'll probably do the route of phone calls and then door to door if necessary. But these results look a little bit more promising than the last round of surveys, so we're kind of optimistic and cautious that this will be a good run for us. So,
All right. Adam?
Just a couple more things, just follow up on Alan's conversation about Watco. We had a conversation with them regarding the crossings. They're doing some maintenance on the majority of the crossings in the city. Their goal is to next year partner with us to fix both crossings on Oshkosh Street. So we are working with them on a more permanent solution than just a few pavement areas and new timbers and whatnot. So we will continue to work with them on that. So the resolution you all passed has gotten their attention, at least, to begin some of this work and improving the crossings. Alan is also, we're working on an RFP for bridge inspections. So, forgot that one. I got you, don't worry, yeah. But we, I don't.
Full page sheet.
There's quite a few crossings and things of that nature in the community that are not a part of the regularly DOT county inspections. So we want to have a comprehensive view of those as well. So that'll be coming forward here in the next couple weeks. We will be hosting an intern again this semester for management side. And then also with Parks and Rec, I believe there will be one. So we're expanding internship opportunities in the organization. And then finally, had a quick back and forth with Allison Burnett, the consultant doing the organizational analysis and study. You all should receive emails or correspondence with her, from her by about the end of the weekish regarding surveys and other conversations. So just be on the lookout for that. That's all I have.
I had a question for Alan, I think it's Alan, or Park and Rec Director, on the volleyball court. It really doesn't look much different than what we had 3 months ago. There's quite a few weeds in it, and then there's like no edging around it. The weeds and grass are growing into the sand. I think maybe Howie's committee should look into it, or somebody should take a look at it, because it's I've been getting complaints on the amount of money spent and the look of it. And I don't know if that falls under Alan's control or if it's Park and Rec Directors.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, good, thank you.
I will note that I saw it in use about a week ago. Looks like there was a game going down there, and I think I saw Ashton down there. I just kind of drove around the loop to see what was going on.
All right. If there's no more questions for department heads, I do have a reappointment to the library board. This would be the school district's appointment for Travis Lipdo. Anyone would like to make a motion for that appointment?
I'll make a motion to accept that appointment.
Second.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by David. Any discussion?
Is that the last opening?
No, there's still one opening.
This is just a reappointment.
This is just a reappointment.
This is just the reappointment for the school district representative. All those in favor of approving Travis Lipdo for reappointment to the library board, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. And I will just note that that last library board position, I'm looking for someone who has strong accounting or financial background to fill that position. So if anyone at home fits that bill and would like to volunteer, definitely get a hold of me or Adam. Or if you have any friends, please refer them. Any council suggestions for future agenda items or comments? Any motions to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Moved by David, seconded by Doug. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:30.